Jai Hind to all. Myself, Dr. Uma Sharma, Assistant Professor in Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College in ECE Department. Today in this lecture, I'll discuss one of the important topic of analog circuits, and the topic is biasing schemes of BJT and MOSFET. So these are the content of my lecture. First, I'll introduce what is a transistor, what is the basic construction, operation, and how we can do the biasing in bipolar junction transistor. And in this lecture, basically I'm going to cover first two topics only, but the need of biasing is same for BJT as well as for MOSFET. So you can see that a transistor is a device that can be used as either an amplifier or a switch, and the BJT is basically a current controlled device. And here you can see that the circuit is, this diagram is for NPN transistor. Here this is known as base terminal, this is known as collector, and this terminal is known as emitter. Here the base to emitter junction, if the base to emitter junction is forward bias and collector to base junction is reverse bias, then this transistor can be known as the active biased BJT. And here this symbol is showing the direction of the current, and from the construction, which is like that, emitter, base and collector, where base thickness is less than the emitter and collector, and the thickness or the area of collector is greater than the emitter. So you can write that collector area is greater than the emitter and base as well, because the electron or the charge carrier emitted from this emitter reach the collector by crossing this base junction, and when the electron flow from emitter to collector, that means the direction of current is from collector to emitter. So this is showing the direction of the current. Similarly, for PNP transistor, the charge carriers are holes. So here I can write this like positive charge carrier are participating in the current conduction. So whenever the device is biased, the charge carrier holes flows from emitter to collector, and the direction of current, as you know that the direction of current in case of hole is in the same direction of the flow of holes. So here you can see that the current direction is from emitter to base BJT. So these are the two configuration of bipolar junction transistor, which is a current control device. So basically there are three terminals. So here you can see that in transistor basically two PN junctions are involved. You can see from this diagram here, one PN junction is formed with this PN AND region, and second PN junction is formed from this N and P region, and this junction is known as base emitter junction, and this junction, because it is connected with the collector terminal, is known as base collector junction. So basically a BJT is a combination of two back-to-back connected diode, but we cannot achieve the property of BJT just by connecting two diode back-to-back. So at the construction level, we have to design these N, P, N regions, and accordingly we can bias the device and we can get the different operation of transistors. So BJT is having 3 layers and 2 PN junctions, and this symbol we have already discussed in the previous slide, and this diagram is showing for PNP type. Now let's see the transistor operation. So if we talk about the NPN transistor, normally in the amplification amplification applications, the emitter base junction should be forward bias and collector base junction should be reverse bias, and this type of combination is known as active region operation of the BJT. Whereas we can bias, like emitter based junction can be reverse biased and collector based junction can be reverse biased. This situation is known as cutoff region operation. Whenever both the junctions are forward biased, then device is said to be in saturation region. But in that case only, the device can operate as an amplifier. So basically, this is the transistor operation. So we have to bias the emitter based junction in forward bias if we want to design a application which is related to amplification, and we have to bias the collector based junction such that that junction is reverse biased. So overall, if I explain you the total current, so this is the base current which is flowing in the inward to the base, collector current which is flowing from collector to emitter terminal, and at emitter terminal I can write emitter current is the combination of collector current and the base current. So IE is equals to IC and IB. So just a second, in this slide the IE is the incoming current and that is IC is the output current, and this base current is due to the minority carriers, and generally the value of IB is very less, that is in the range of microamperes, whereas IE and IC in the range of milliamperes. So one thing you should remember, IB is the minority charge carrier current and it should be as low as possible so that we can get the maximum collector current, and the range of IB lies in microamperes. Now this is a very important topic. What is the need of biasing? So if a signal of very small voltage is given to the input of BJT, it cannot be amplified because the emitter based junction and collector based junction is not biased properly. That means if input is very less, that emitter based junction is not in the forward region, whereas the collector based junction should be in the reverse bias region. But when input exceed the value of minimum cut-in voltage which is required to on the transistor means the emitter based junction should be forward bias, then the device is known as in active region. The device is operate in active region, and that can be known as the amplification. So we require a particular voltage at the emitter based junction and collector based junction so that the device can operate in active region, and this is the need of biasing. If we don't apply this minimum amount of voltage for the biasing of emitter based junction and collector based junction, the device will never enter into the active region, and that the device will be in the cutoff region, so no current will flow and we cannot design any application. So basically the need of biasing arises to operate our device in the desired operating region. So there are so many biasing schemes, but before moving towards the biasing schemes, we should know what is the basic need of stabilization of the biasing. In the previous slide, we have seen that the biasing is required to bias our device in a desired operating region. For example, I am talking about the active region. So the emitter based junction should be in forward bias and collector based junction should be in the reverse bias. But once we have set the operating points, once we have apply the minimum amount at the emitter base and collector base junction, the requirement is that biasing points, that supply voltage should remain same. Then only the device can operate without any failure, or we can say the linearly device can operate in the active region. Otherwise, due to any reason, if the operating point change its value, then definitely the device may enter in another region like cutoff or saturation. So we will not get the proper operation. So the properly selection of biasing is important, and the point which I am saying operating point, is also known as Q point, quiescent point for the BJT. The requirement is that the Q point or operating point should not shift, because if there is a shifting in the Q point, definitely that would change the IC, collector current. And if the collector current change, that means the output will change. So it is not tolerable for any application. The main reason for the change in the Q point are beta variation due to the replacement of the transistor of same time. For example, there is a BJT which I have used to design a particular circuit. There is a failure of this device. Then with the same batch, we can replace with the another device, but due to the replacement of device, whether the device parameters are same, there is a chance of beta variation. Beta is the device parameter for BJT. So this is one of the reason of change, shifting of this Q point. Another reason is the temperature variation. Because of the temperature variation, the operating point may change. So stabilization of these operating point is very, very important, and the process of making the operating point independent of temperature variation and the transistor parameter variation is known as stabilization. So factor that affecting the operating points I have already discussed, but you can see from this slide the temperature. If the change in the temperature arises, there are two factors which gets changed with the help of due to this temperature change. First point is ICBO, that is the minority carrier current, that get doubles for every 10 degree rise in the temperature, whereas the VBE, base to emitter voltage, decrease by 2.5 millivolt for every 1 degree centigrade rise in the temperature. So you can see that if there is a change in 10 degree, that means there is a change of 25 millivolts in the VBE. So if the base to emitter voltage is fixed at 0.7 volt, after an increase in 10 degree in the temperature, the VB will shift from 0.7 volt to either in positive direction or negative direction by 25 millivolts, like 0.25 millivolts. And because of this 0.25 volts, or I can say 25 millivolts voltage, definitely that may change the biasing of emitter base junction. So there are some commonly used transistor biasing techniques known as base resistor biasing. This is very common. Emitter biasing, biasing with collector feedback, and voltage divider biasing. These are the biasing technique by which we can fix the operating point and we can get the stability also. So this is the circuit for fixed bias. Here you can see that, or you can say this is fixed bias or resistor bias. Here this is the transistor connected in common emitter configuration because emitter terminal is grounded, and here input signal is applied at the base terminal. Here this capacitor is known as coupling capacitor, so it comes into the picture when we apply the input signal, but we are talking about the DC biasing, so we are discussing the DC analysis of the circuit only. Here the RB resistor is connected at the base, connected with the VCC, that will fix a voltage at this base node, and the VBE is the minimum cut-in voltage for the emitter base junction to enter in the forward bias region. So this VBE is fixed. By using this RB, we are going to fix the IC and VCE. IC, VCE are known as operating point. So these are the coordinates of operating points, IC and VCE. So if I fix the input voltage, base voltage, in this technique, it is it can be seen that the output IC is fixed. If I fix the value of base voltage, the IC is fixed, and this IC will generate a fixed value of VCE, and we can see that, say that the in fixed biasing, if then we can say the output current and the output voltage are going to be at the same value. But here we can see that here the VCE can be given as VCC minus ICRC. If we plot these points, like you can see this graph, the graph is plot between output parameters. VCE is the output voltage and IC is the output current. And when we take the maximum value of VCC, then we will get a value of current. And when we get the minimum value of VCE, we will get the value of IC from this equation. This equation comes from this diagram. Here I can write the value of V output, that is equals to VCC minus IC RC, and here you can see that V output is equivalent to VCE, because at the collector node we are taking the output and emitter at the ground potential. So here we can write VCC minus IC RC. So from this equation we can plot this graph, because VC equals to VCC minus IC RC. So if IC is 0, then VCE equals to VCC. So if IC is 0, then VCE equals to VCC, this point. And whenever this VCE is 0, in that case we can find this IC, and this value is equals to VCC by RC, this point. If we meet these two maximum points, this line is known as DC load line. And any point lie in this load line is known as operating point, but we have to fix this operating point in the middle of this load line so that we can get the maximum amplification. Otherwise, if I shift this Q point in upward direction, then definitely the output swing will be clipped off, and if I shift in negative direction, then it may possible that negative part of the waveform gets clipped off. So this is how we can select this operating point in the middle of the load line, and this is the right way of doing the biasing. This is the emitter stabilized biasing, because in this biasing the problem is whenever we fix this value, then output definitely directly related with IB, and due to any case, if there is a change in temperature, then definitely that will impact the value of VBE. And if we change the VBE, because here the value of IB can be written as, if I calculate this IB, this value will be VB minus VBE upon RB. So definitely that if there is any change in the temperature, the operating point will change. So to stabilize the problem of fixed bias, we can have this another biasing technique, that is emitter stabilized bias circuit. Here you can see that additional RE is added at the base to emitter loop at the emitter terminal. So here again procedure is same. These capacitors are known as coupling capacitor and are used in the AC analysis of the circuit when we apply some input signal. So in case of DC, the capacitor can be open circuited. So my circuit will be this only in this circle. So now we can locate these two loops, base emitter loop and the collector emitter loop. And here you can see that definitely the IB, here this IB term will, to calculate this IB, this IE term will come into the picture, and definitely if I calculate the value of this IB, that will produce a value of IC, which will less dependent on the value of beta or temperature as compared to the resistor bias technique or fixed bias technique. Here this emitter resistance is known as stabilization factor, or this will provide a negative feedback to the circuit that will reduce the gain, but definitely will enhance the stability. Another technique is DC bias with the voltage feedback, or this is also known as collector feedback. This is similar to the previous one, and here this RE is there as compared to the previous circuit. this RB is additionally added to the circuit just to increase the stability. So this again, this biasing technique, we will get the more stability as compared to fixed bias. The next and the last biasing technique, which is very, very important, is known as the voltage divider biasing. This provides a good Q point stability with a single polarity power supply voltage. Here, this RE is again same. The input resistor, that is RB or RC in case of both the previous biasing technique, are divided into R1 and R2. That's why it is known as voltage divider. And at this node, we can calculate the voltage using the Thevenin theorem, and which is known as VCC into R2 upon R1 plus R2. This is how we can calculate the value of this voltage, and the equivalent Thevenin resistance can be calculated as R1 parallel R2. So the resultant circuit will be designed like this. This is RTH, and here voltage is VTH, and now this is connected with VCC, and this value is RC, this is RE, and this terminal is grounded. So here we can calculate the value of VCE, and the current in this resistor can be known as IC. So this is the simplified version of the voltage divider biasing. And if you compare this circuit, this is similar to the ammeter bias. This is similar to this circuit. The only difference here, RB is replaced by R1 parallel R2, and this will provide a better stability and less area as compared to this circuit, because here this RB is divided into two resistors, that is R1 and R2, and here the supply is directly connected with the base terminal, and here this is connected with the help of this relation in between VCC, R1, R2 and VTH. So there are two methods of solving this voltage divider biasing. Here the one problem has been discussed. So if we can apply the approximate technique to solve these type of voltage divider circuits, because in the exam you will be asked some question on voltage divider biasing, and the biasing in this voltage divider biasing, two popular methods are there. One is exact analysis that we can apply on this circuit, and second one is the approximate method, and this approximate method can be used only when beta RE is greater than or equals to 10 times of R2, and the circuit should be like this. This R2 will be at this place only. So we are saying if the beta RE, the value of this resistance, is greater than or equals to 10 times of his R2 is satisfied, then we can apply this approximate method. So here as the values are given VCC, R1, R2 and RE, we can check the condition, and if we check the condition, we can find this this equation is satisfied. That means we can apply the approximate method, and definitely at the base terminal we can calculate the value of VTH, which is known as VB. This is equivalent to VTH, which I have given the expression in the previous slide. So here this VB is equals to 1.64 volt by applying the formula, and from here we can directly calculate VE, because we know that VBE can be written as VB minus VE. So from here we can calculate the value of VE, which will equals to the VB minus VBE. So the value of VE can be calculated. If I calculate VE and I know the value of RE, then definitely I can calculate IE, and in approximate method I can consider IB is very, very less and IC is nearly equals to IE, because IE is equals to IC plus IB. So from here I can write IC is nearly equals to 0.63 milliamperes, and I can calculate the value of VCE, that is 12.55. So by using simple two expressions we can calculate the operating points, and here operating points are IC and VCE. So for each and every biasing technique. Your biasing points are IC and VCE, and using the biasing methods, we can stabilize the biasing points. So stability is more important in this topic. So biasing is required before applying the AC analysis to the circuits. So this is very important topic of this analog circuits. Thank you so much.